Now that Call of Duty is officially on Game Pass, starting with Modern Warfare Roman numeral 3, not the OG Modern Warfare 3, but in recency times, I would believe they're trying to drip feed maybe everything. Activision Blizzard being along with Game Pass, it really defines gaming history. This is a historic franchise now. In recent times, there's a lot of weird shit going on with Call of Duty. But I feel that Call of Duty definitely has solidified themselves, especially Treyarch and the Black Ops series. I have held a poll and I was talking about, which game should be coming to Xbox Game Pass anytime soon to help the initial marketing for October Black Ops 6. Obviously, Black Ops 6 is coming day one. We already know all that from the Xbox Showcase. If you don't know about it, I'd highly suggest check it out. They have a full in-depth breakdown of everything of the new Call of Duty Black Ops 6. So if you haven't been keeping up with the Call of Duty stuff, I think Black Ops 6 will be a great time to jump in, especially if you're an Xbox owner already with Game Pass. How Call of Duty really changes everything is significant. Because one, of course, we know in the FPS genre, we know how much it has changed. Hell, in fact, they even had Blackout, which was the battle royale essential to what we have in Warzone. And then we know Pandemic Warzone was really peak. And that's aside from all the multiplayer stuff they had going down in all these years, from like COD 4 going into Modern Warfare, OG, and just all the way onward. Now, of course, there has been some bad titles and great titles, and that's bound to happen with how long Call of Duty has had their legacy. But what really intrigues me about Call of Duty is that this reminds me of, a big superstar like LeBron James going to Miami Heat to join much more titles, right? We have a Gears of War coming around. Halo probably has something, I'm hoping. And then you have, a reignition of like Perfect Dark. And then you have Doom. And now you have Call of Duty, Activision Blizzard, and other titles that are really going to be on this Game Pass outlook. Of course, Call of Duty is going to be pushed the most. It was bought for tons of money. But Call of Duty somehow, some way, is going to be going through this process now that is a streaming service with gaming. And also, it really solidifies how games are probably going to go moving forward, especially on Microsoft's side. Now, there is a lot of titles that are not even coming to Xbox. In recent times, also, EVO had just passed the biggest fighting game event in history for esports. And they didn't really have like the Marvel vs. Capcom 2 collection yet up until this point, but maybe sometime soon they will. So we'll see when this video is concluded at the end of the time and later on if any of these games eventually come to Xbox. Another thing also was that after all of this, just the purchases of Call of Duty, there is Amazon now, probably going to start leaning away from being just console-centric Xbox. And that's also going to be weird. It's going to be the Netflix of gaming. And Call of Duty being this type of title means that possibly a lot more titles are going to be humble. Now, there is good and bad situations about this. Like, this means other titles are going to probably have to be humble and probably try to work bundles and deals to try to get onto this Game Pass, because a lot of the casual audience is going to be moving on to this. Now, PlayStation, we're still on standby to see what goes down with them. But what I could really determine is that Xbox doing this is a huge leap. It does conclude in being higher price. Of course, it's significantly better now. The titles from Game Pass when I first got Game Pass, which was years and years ago, versus how we see Game Pass now is a totally different monster. Like, there's just so much stuff on there where it's like, okay, well, we get it. We got so much content. But of course, the downfall is a higher price. You don't necessarily own the games. A lot of it is deemed as cloud gaming for the most part, although you do download it to your digital versions of, at your Xbox, or if not, you have both versions, right? The hybrid versions. But it is, if you would just think of it like Amazon Video or Netflix or any type of streaming, Disney Plus, HBO Max. Now Game Pass is essentially that. I'm pretty sure they might even have a different name later down the road, or at least in the near future. But Call of Duty doing this now, going back to the run. They had a legendary run. They started from the Blackout, now the Warzone, especially in the BR era, the Battle Royale era, as it already has plateaued, right? There's not a lot of hype in those. I do know it kind of leaning towards Souls games. Maybe like another Souls game might look into going to Game Pass. That might help out a lot too. A lot of recent fighting games might possibly start looking into going into Game Pass. And a lot of the reasoning is because these games can also help put the significance in Game Pass. Now that it definitely has a credibility, now it needs to execute and establish the credibility to reach newer heights, and therefore Call of Duty is that. They, at the end of the day, it's still the top dog when it comes to FPS, which is kind of insane. I don't think as much people are playing it on Steam as they play Apex. Now, Apex is highly competitive, the hardest battle royale in my opinion, but it is in terms of casual, because it does favor casuals, right? We all know the skill-based matchmaking. We know that. We know aim assist. Then we know all the bundles and all the crossovers, all the partnerships they do can be seen as a cash grab, or it could be seen the mainstream marketing to continuously let people play. Like NBA players play Call of Duty. Rappers play Call of Duty. Everybody knows what Call of Duty is because of just how they can market and the amount of money they are reinvesting into their marketing. And then they also do it to sell bundles and stuff. And speaking of bundles, I think bundles are obviously going to be continuously get higher and higher and higher, whether it's price or just being more sold to our face, whether it's other battle passes and all this stuff like that. So if you thought it was pretty bad now, I think it will continuously get into that factor because they have to make money somehow. Obviously, depending on how much Xbox is for the culture is what I'm really excited about too. But regardless, it is a change scenario now with Call of Duty being here. This is sending a huge message to a lot of devs and everybody, letting them know that now that this title is in Game Pass, then probably nobody else, basically everybody else has to kind of stand in line and understand, like, if they want to do a day one straight to release Game Pass, that they have no other option too, because they're gonna just look at Activision Blizzard and be like, if Call of Duty could do it, because this is gonna sell, right? Modern Warfare 2 2022 sold a lot of copies. A lot, even if people just opened it up once, because Modern Warfare 2019, like in recency bias and also just in another revamped historic run, Modern Warfare in 2019, as mixed as it was, some people love it, some people hate it, it sold tons of titles. I even have a poster of 2019 in here because 2019 was still pretty monumental to me because it was going into that pandemic, and that was peak Warzone for a fact because everybody was home, and I don't know, it was just, there's something special about that moment with the game. The multiplayer was alright, but once Warzone started coming around, it started polishing itself, then it was super peak. And you got 2019, and then you had the initial then you had Black Ops Cold War, which is still underrated in my opinion, and these are all in recent times, right? Black Ops Cold War was 100% underrated, probably the best title released overall in the recent ones, aside from maybe Black Ops 6 coming out. So you had Black Ops Cold War, then you had Vanguard, which was a dud. We didn't like that one. It was a reskin of 2019, but it was just in a different weird era that probably a lot of people did not enjoy. And then you also had Modern Warfare 2 2022. Now, the reason why I bring up this game, because this was one of the worst mechanism changes probably in the history of Call of Duty, because we were spoiled to have, you know, like all the fluidity and the movement, and I'll get more into that later. But whenever we changed into this Modern Warfare 2 2022, it sold a lot of copies because it was such a bland time. Like Cold War was a different engine also. It was more on like the Black Ops 3 type feeling, and they did that on purpose. And it was kind of a rush game. And then you went into, and then like I said, the Vanguard, and then 2022, Modern Warfare 2, Roman numeral 2. And therefore the movement was clunkier. Everything was just like that. And so a legendary move was that they still sold a lot of copies because everybody felt it was literally going to be the exact sequel reskin that we were going to get. Instead of getting Vanguard, we wanted like that Modern Warfare 2 2022 to really play like the way Vanguard was playing. But we wanted that era, right? We wanted modern gaming. At the end of the day, it was the future already. And, you know, with people always trying to really blow up virtual reality in recent times, we wanted the future of that. But Call of Duty does that, and therefore it's a, you know, it still sells because, you know, they Ghost, all the marketing, and then just we thought it was going to be 2019 a direct sequel. Now it was basically a sequel, right? But everything was just ass in that game. They did terrible in that game. Next came out was finally the Modern Warfare Roman numeral 3, but they're just trying to revert everything still to this day, in which we really love from like 2019, literally from guns, movement, skins, just the playability, maps, like everything is literally now still trying to play catch up from Modern Warfare 2019, which just shows how significant that 2019 revamp of Call of Duty as a franchise was to us personally. So Black Ops 6 now is another move that has been a game that has been tons and years and years of development, and therefore we're hoping it's going to give us that series that we really wanted. If Cold War was still possibly the best overall game in recency times during like COVID pandemic, being rushed, not having that much time, and zombies was still really good in Cold War, in my opinion. They really changed up zombies on that one versus like the Warzone zombies we get now, the Modern Warfare zombies. So if we get all of that with years of development, we know this game's going to be very great, just because Treyarch never really, like, they just don't let us down. Even with rush games, aside from Black Ops 4, which is also a mixed bag, they usually don't let us down. So that's going to be historic, of course. But I want to go back to that when I'm talking about Modern Warfare 2019, because before in Call of Duty, it was always great, right? We had the OG Modern Warfares, everything going down, skill-based matchmaking, never. But with that 2019, movement was insane. It was fluid, all the slide canceling, everything that was just going wild, the stims, everything that was just insane about Call of Duty that people really did enjoy, 2019 had. Although the multiplayer side wasn't amazing, I think a lot of people, when they enjoy 2019, it's going to be in the Warzone perspective. So when you have all of that going down and still how monumentally they are selling copies, you know that Game Pass is really making a move. And I know a lot of people don't like a lot of the ups and downs about Call of Duty, but at the end of the day, tons of people, if you look at the facts, tons of people have made livings off this game, whether it's talking good or bad about the franchise. People, whether it's gameplay, professional level, like look at all the pros that have gotten so many endorsements. And to top it off, Call of Duty is so monumental that content creators make tons of money, but not even that. They get tons of endorsements, partnerships, opportunities, and just everything in totality, much more for not even being the best Call of Duty player. Whereas in a lot of other genre games, most likely you either had to be like a well-known creator in the top 0.0001%, or you just had to be a very good player. And a great way to really help out this analysis is that Call of Duty I notice when I create content on like other games like Call of Duty, Battle Royale games, hell, even Fortnite at times, and even linear single story games, virtual reality, I noticed that I never really had to be the best player. I just had to be the best creator and entertainer I could ever be. And that's thanks to Call of Duty also, because you could just create, entertain, do what you want, and there's a lot of opportunity there. But if you go to the other side and contrast, you go to a genre like fighting games, which I also have a full channel dedicated to that. Call of Duty is so monumental and so great, and so much viewers just love this game regardless, and they have a cult following that even if you create fighting games, you don't get half as much opportunity as you would with Call of Duty games, which is insane, by the way, because Call of Duty just provides that much of awareness and how much mainstream aspect it is. Me currently making fighting games, at the most part, I like to stream fighting games. I still stream like Warzone a bit too, but fighting games for sure is where it's at for me. And you have to be a higher rank, and you had to play competitively, and you had to win tourneys. That's like saying the only way to really get opportunity of Call of Duty is that you had to play like CDL all day, or be like a Warzone great, and be like, you know, all the legends that you know that just play online that are great, obviously without cheating. And so that just shows why that content creation, entertainment, and overall capabilities for gamers making a massive living, Call of Duty has done so much for that. And I think paying it back, having them on Game Pass is kind of like a pay it forward, pay it back type situation for the culture and for even more casuals to play. But there can be a downfall to that. I know it's not all going to be perfect. It could be either higher price bundles, much more battle pass aspects, paywall type situations, pay to win situations, and that's only gonna make sense because they're on a monthly subscription thing. But it could be normalized really fast because Amazon does have a lot of that stuff now, where movies are just going straight to the streaming services, and other ones too, like HBO and everything. But I think Amazon is what I see mostly often, and Netflix originals, where it's going straight to the streaming services. But at this caliber level for a Black Ops 6 where everybody has the same level playing field, there's no exclusive accesses anymore. It's just you play and you play, you got the Game Pass and you're ready to go with Call of Duty. And for me, somebody as big as like the Jordan, the LeBron James of FPS games, for them to be on a streaming service now where you don't necessarily advance the amount of money to be able to play this game, meaning that it's going to be very accessible, affordable, at least up front, not in the long haul, because you're paying for a subscription forever for the most part. You don't own the game. That it's still definitely going to be historic in my opinion. All these games in recent times Call of Duty has done has been insane. And I'm even newer to the franchise too, so that's why I wanted to cover the 2019 onward, in my opinion. But of course, the OGs, I have done my research and homework. I dabbled into them a little bit. It's harder now because, of course, these are older games. But I also did hold a poll where I was like, man, what game should come back? And, you know, I asked about Black Ops Series. I asked about Advanced Warfare, Ghost, and the OG Modern Warfare. Everybody voted for Black Ops. And also, what's going to really intrigue me is Call of Duty going to bring these games back? Like servers, can you imagine playing a lot of the OG games like with servers actually having players in there on rotation? I don't know. It looks like they're kind of just drip feeding recent games. I think that Call of Duty will probably bring recent games such as maybe at least all the way up into 2019 is what I'm thinking, man. But y'all got to be letting me know what's up. I appreciate y'all so much, and y'all have a good one. Peace.